Welcome back to Cold Castle Podcast. We have a special guest. We have Tom Duggan in the house from the Valley Patriot. What's up, Tom?
How are you? It's Tom Duggan for today, though.
Duggan?
Yes.
Oh, I always say Duggan.
That's okay.
Is it my accent thing? Or?
No, well, there's Duggans and Duggans.
Oh, okay. How do you spell Duggan?
Duggan is with 2 G's.
2 G's.
And Duggan is with 1.
And Duggan is
so half of my family, when they immigrated from Ireland, when they went through Ellis Island, half of them kept the extra G, and then the other half, depending on who they got, would write down the name only. They would just put 1 G. So they screwed up at Ellis Island. So half my family has 1 and half.
Nice.
So the one with 1 G is Duggan, and the ones with 2. Not that it's a big deal. I've been called a lot worse.
No, I mean, how did you find out all that information? Did you do like a background check? Or?
No, just passed down from my grandparents and my great-grandparents. And,
all right.
Some of our Duggan relatives used to come over for like Christmas and Easter when I was a kid. And so as kids, we always asked, well, why are you Duggan and we're Duggan? And
okay. Well, I apologize, Duggan.
That's okay.
When did your family enter the United States?
I am 9th generation American, so 10 generations ago.
10 generations ago.
The Duggans came. The Duggans and McMahons came to the United States.
Do you know what year
I don't know if it was on the Mayflower or shortly after the Mayflower. I don't think it was on the actual Mayflower, but there was a whole
1600s?
Yeah, it's like 10 generations ago.
Wow.
So we go back, for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's good for you. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to bring you here because I feel like, from my viewers, as soon as I posted that I was working with you, I got all this backlash. I got all these people reaching out to me, telling me, don't trust this guy, blah, blah, blah.
He's evil. He's evil. He's the Antichrist.
Yeah, all of that. And I was like, oh my God, guys, like, you need to understand, like, I'm a professional and I'm an adult. So I know what I'm doing, number one. Number two, I'm not an idiot. Like,
thank you for giving me the list of all the people who said that. I didn't.
That. I didn't do that. Stop lying now. If there's something that I know about you is that you stick to the truth and you stand behind it, no matter what happens. And I respect that about you. And that's why I admire what you do and why I reached out to you to work with you. Unfortunately, when you are the person that tells the truth, you're going to get a lot of people who are not going to agree with you, right?
Well, there's a lot of people who, not that they don't agree with me, because nobody agrees with anybody 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. It's more that they try to attack your credibility because they're afraid people are going to believe you when you expose their lies or their corruption or their stealing. So, like, you've got 50% of the people, the elected officials in Methuen think I actually am the Antichrist because they're all engaged in scurrilous things behind the scenes. And they know that if they suck up to the Tribune and buy a couple of ads, the Tribune's never going to go after them, even if they catch them in the act. But they also know that doesn't work with me. Yeah. So
you have credibility.
They're constantly attacking my credibility to try and get people to say, oh, well, don't believe anything Duggan says, so that the next time I write about them, hopefully people won't believe what Duggan says. Oh. But whenever I post a story, I always post the video or the documents or the background information, so people could, like, there's this controversy we were talking about before we went on the air. There's somebody on Facebook running around the last 48 hours. Duggan's story, it's a lie. It's a story out of Lawrence. It's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. So I posted the video. Now, I didn't intend on posting the video, but if you're going to attack my credibility and say what I reported, the police went to a meeting and said this, that's what I reported. You're saying it's a lie. Here's the video of the police at the meeting saying this. Yeah. And then they hate you even more.
You always have a backup. Like, you don't just run with something that, any rumor, any little thing that somebody tells you, because you could be wrong. And that's something that you have to...
The dirty secret about this business, if you're going to be successful, is never shoot your load right out of the gate. Never show the proof you have when you make the original story. Because if someone comes afterwards and tries to say it's a lie, now you've got a follow-up story.
Oh, so it gives you additional content that you can kind of keep people entertained and keep people, like, watching and all that.
So 2 days ago, I posted a story about a situation in Lawrence. In under an hour, the person involved and her husband are all over Facebook, and her mommy all over Facebook. It's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. So I get up very late. It was like noon or something. And I saw this, and I said, oh, all right. So I waited another like 5 or 6 hours. And then I went and I just posted the video and said, without mentioning their names, I understand that there's people out there saying that my story is a lie. So here's the video. And the video went more viral than the original story. So by them calling it a lie, had they ignored the story, 3 days later it would have gone away. No one would be talking about it right now. But because they didn't ignore the story and they gave it, it's like a fire. A story is like fire. Okay. You give it oxygen, it's going to grow. It's going to spread, right? So I'm still getting like a really bad echo.
Really?
And
I'm sorry.
At one point, it kind of went out, and then
it came back. I think you just gotta get closer to it and don't move it too much. Like if you talk right into it, I think, yeah.
So I guess what I was trying to say, I'm still out of breath from coming up your ramp.
I'm sorry.
So I guess what I was trying to say is, with any story, especially if it has to do with scandal at the local level, whenever someone writes about me, like today I woke up and there's 5 things on Facebook about me that somebody's claiming that is totally not true, I just ignore it.
Yeah.
Because if you answer it, now all the people that didn't see the allegation
are going to see it.
I got to go look for the allegation to see what you're talking about. So why give it oxygen? So when I write my story about a Lawrence City employee doing something really horrible, if she had just ignored it, 2 or 3 days later, everybody would be talking about something else.
Yeah.
But they're too stupid to be on their own side. Right? So now they're out yelling and screaming, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, in every forum they can.
They actually reached out to me, which
I'm not surprised.
I am not very happy about, because I felt like it's intimidating to me.
That's what they do. They bully people.
Yeah, and then I don't appreciate that. I'm working with you on a business side. You're teaching me the business because of something that I have coming up, which I spoke to you about, and I really do appreciate working with you. I've learned so much so far already. You're a professional, but I don't appreciate anyone trying to intimidate me or send me any messages for me to feel any type of way. Absolutely not. I will use whatever enforcement I have to use. If I have to use the police department, if I have to use an attorney to get people to get off of me and not talk about me or whatever, I will do that. Yeah. I'm here to protect myself.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says about me, because I've been around a very long time. Yeah. And what I've learned is that when people start attacking my credibility, anyone who's followed me for more than 5 minutes will know whether or not what they're saying is true or not. Yeah. Now, there are some things that these people that we're talking about, we'll not mention them by name, there's some things that they say about me that actually are true. Okay. When they say that, I just admit it and go, yeah, you're right, that's true. Yeah, when I was 14, I stole a pack of gum out of store 24. You're right. And if that's what you think is Watergate, then
go ahead.
Just go run with it. I couldn't care less.
I don't appreciate, as a woman of color, as a single mother, I don't appreciate any type of man, especially if you're a grown man, for you to be intimidating a young woman, a single mother like myself. You don't do that. Absolutely not. That's off limits. I am not going to take anybody's crap.
Well, they do that, and that's one of the reasons why.
Well, that's not fair. It shouldn't be like that. I know. It shouldn't be like that. And I told him specifically, I said, we're only doing business. Do not involve me in any of this drama. I don't want to be involved.
But by the way, you're going to get that more. If you stick with me and you stick with the Valley Patriot, at some point down the line, I'm going to be writing about someone else. Yeah. And they're going to do the same thing. Okay. Because they all think that they're geniuses, that they're the only ones that have ever thought of this, but they're all doing the same thing. Whether it's Lawrence or Methuen or North Andover, when you've got people that are involved in scurrilous things, the people that are involved in things that are not on the up and up, they all follow the same pattern. Bullying, intimidation, attacking. Okay. So you'll notice that, today, for the last 6 hours, these people we're talking about are attacking. They've attacked the mayor. They've attacked his special assistant, Octavian Spanner. They attacked Andrea McCann. They attacked Greg Del Rosario. They attacked Greg Del Rosario's wife, which, by the way, not a smart move. They attacked me. They attacked some guy that bought 5% stock in my company. They're calling him a co-owner of the paper. I own stock in GE. I'm not co-owner of GE.
No, you're not.
Whatever.
That makes sense.
And they've gone after you. So that's just off the top of our head, 9 people. Oh, and they went after TMF. So that's 10 people.
And that's all from yesterday until today, right?
Yeah, that's just in the last 24 hours.
Wow.
Right? So walk through it again. If they had ignored the story, by now everybody would be talking about, there's a state rep that's supposedly in a whole lot of trouble right now, and everyone would be talking about that. But they're not. They're talking about this.
Yeah, because this is taking over. You're adding, you said, oxygen to the fire.
Right. So we had 1,400 views on the story about the Lawrence Homeless Coordinator. Okay. When they started attacking on Facebook. Okay. We're now up to somewhere in the neighborhood of 38,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is that's
viral. And that's what I mean when I say, and I only know this because I've been there. I was on the Lawrence School Committee. I was constantly involved in scandal. And I always thought when someone accused me of something that I needed to address every single slight. Every single time someone said something bad about me, I had to answer it. And I learned over time that the times that I didn't answer it, the story went away faster. And the times that I answered it, it gave my enemies more content to say, well, here he is. He's denying it, and now here's more proof that it's true. Here's more evidence that it's true.
This goes back to the conversation we had last week about the politicians not having like a communication strategy or a publicist. Like, you need to make sure you have that. That's so important. Like you said, you don't have to answer to everything, or maybe you do need to answer to some things that, you know, you kind of need a balance, in it. So you need a professional to kind of guide you in that way. So I agree with you 100%. Wow, 38,000.
Yeah, and it's going to climb because the amount of attacking that these people have done on Facebook has got people interested in and sharing it. So their friends are going to see it tonight when they come home from work, right? And some of their friends are going to see it and they're going to share it. And their friends, it's kind of like that old commercial, and they told two friends and they told two friends.
The domino effect.
So, listen, I had a number, when I got up very late today. The echo keeps going in and out.
I'm sorry.
I'm just hoping that people at home aren't being distracted.
No, I don't think so.
So I lost where I was. Anyway, that's fine.
Well,
and we
one
don't have
thing
to keep talking about this
I don't want to keep talking about it. One thing, the difference between, you know, I'm doing more like a cultural, like entertainment type of thing. Like, I like politics. I mean, it's obvious. I love to read the news. I like to stay current, but it's more like on a citizen level. Like, you know, I want to make sure like I know what's going on around me, what's happening and stuff like that. But it's not something that I want to pursue. Like, I'm not trying to
politics
go there.
is a very dirty game.
It is a very dirty game, and you got to have very strong character for it, which I tend to have very strong character, but I am also, like I said, a single mother. Like, I just cannot put myself in a situation where I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to put my kids at risk of anything, you know? So I'm trying to stay clear of that type of content, to be honest with you. But besides that, I really wanted to bring you here today because I want our listeners to really get to know the human side of Tom Duggan.
You're gonna ruin my reputation.
Do you have a heart? Does it beat?
No.
No? What do you have in there?
I'm the Antichrist. Believe everything my enemies tell you. I am the Antichrist.
Oh my God, Oh my God, they said, can I say it?
Yeah,
Do you mind? They
absolutely.
said you're a racist. That why am I working with you? That you're a perv. You're this. You're that. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never felt like you have been discriminating to me at all. If I was a racist,
I wouldn't have allowed you to be my
exactly.
intern. Duh.
I know. And not only that, like, you've also, like, I've never felt uncomfortable around you. We always have great conversations about what's going on. It's always about progress. It's never about, like, I mean, we might gossip here and there, but it's never like, it's always,
when we first met
to
at
learn.
Salvatore's, I felt bad that you were calling an Uber. And I wanted to offer you a ride home, but I didn't think it was appropriate, so I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when I told you that afterwards, you said, you know what, you're right, because that would have felt inappropriate.
That would have felt inappropriate, so I appreciated that, yeah.
The people who badmouth me and say those things, I guarantee you are the people who don't know me. Right? The people who know me will tell you a very different story.
No, they were telling me about someone else that told them about you, and I was like, what? He said, she said. I don't listen to any of that. I don't care. I'm like, I look at the facts. I went and I said, okay, what is Tom doing? How long has this paper been around? I've seen it. When I worked at the YMCA, used to have someone drop it off. I used to read it all the time. I used to do stories on the YMCA that I used to see. You've been around for quite some time. I got some great feedback from very important people that I do admire and I do respect, like, their opinions. So I was like, absolutely, I'm definitely gonna reach out, see, you know, what I can do with him and work. But what I'm gonna be launching, you're gonna be part of, and I hope you stay part of it. And I appreciate you again. Like, I am so grateful for this push that you're doing for me, and also, like, for everything you do for the homeless. Can you talk a little bit about that? How often do you guys feed the homeless, and where and how can people help and support your cause?
So I want to start off by saying I don't want to take credit for any of this, okay? Because I always hate when I go on Facebook and there are people bragging about what they're doing for the homeless, because it kind of seems like that's why they're doing it. And even though, yes, the homeless are getting serviced, even though you're doing it for the wrong reason, so you can't really be upset about it, but still, it kind of seems very self-serving for a lot of people, not everyone. So I just want to say out of the gate, I'm not bragging. What I do is very small compared to what the rest of TMF does, so I'd rather talk about what TMF does. And I know that there are people who out there who are attacking TMF right now because they're in competition, right? We're all looking for grants. There's nonprofits. All the nonprofits hate each other because they're all fighting for the same pool of money. And I get that. And that's why they do that. So I started with TMF. I was driving around with my police scanner chasing police calls in Lawrence. And I'd go live on Facebook to a shooting, a fire, an accident, whatever. And I drove by a couple of homeless people one day, and I had like some extra stuff in my car. So I just got out and I gave it to them, not realizing I'm on Facebook, right? So I got out of my car, went over and said, here, you can have these, and I left. When I got back into my car, there's a woman named Jari Jabone, I hope I said that right, who lives over across from the Hayden Schofield Playstead, who popped up on my feed. I probably had about 5,000 people following me that night because I think there was a big shooting earlier. And she popped up and said, hey, I have some blankets. Those people are very cold. If you drive by my house, I'll throw you down some blankets. I live up on the second or third floor. So normally I would have said no to that because I'm not going into some, into like in 2 a.m, go to, where someone's directing me to, right? Because I've been set up before. But she said, I'll throw them down to you. So I said, fine. I pulled up in front of across from the Hayden Schofield.
2 o'clock in the morning?
2 o'clock in the morning. And she throws down like 5 blankets, right? That are almost practically brand new. So I drove back, and I'm still live on the Facebook's like this. It's like a dash cam, right? So people are only seeing what's in front of my car. So I get back over to Broadway where the homeless people were sleeping in front of a store. And I got out and I gave them the blankets and then got back in my car. And then there was a fire a few minutes later, so I sped off over to the fire. Didn't pay attention to my phone at all because I'm at the fire. I'm doing, live video feeds and taking pictures. And when I got back to my car and that was all over, I went back and started looking at the comments, and there was like 40 different people who said, I've got blankets too. Why don't you bring them some food? I just made chili. Why don't you bring them this? Why don't you bring them that? And so the next night when I was out chasing police calls, there was like a plethora of people coming on saying, if you see a homeless person, come over to my house on Arlington Street. I just made chili. You can bring it to them. So I started doing that just because I was out there anyway, and I'm driving by these people anyway, and it's not an inconvenience at all. It's not like this was my mission. I didn't go out intending to do this stuff. It's just that the community, people in Lawrence are so fucking awesome that they saw a need through the lens of my camera, through what I was doing, which had nothing to do with that. And they said, here, we want to help. And so I became the delivery guy, and everybody's giving me credit. And I'm saying, please don't give me credit. This literally, and it's not false modesty, this literally had nothing to do with me. This was my readers and my viewers and the people who consume the media that I put out there that saw that there was a need in the community and said, we want to help. So one day I'm doing all this, and I had probably been doing it for about maybe 6 months. And I drove by the Buckley Garage in Lawrence, and there was this young kid in there with a card table and a couple of pizzas, and a couple of homeless people just kind of standing around eating pizza. And it's like, 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this? Like, I thought maybe it was some kind of scam, some 3-card Monty kind of scam. And I'm live on Facebook, so I pull in, so everything's on camera, and I get out of my car and go over to them. And I ran into this guy named Mike Gorman. And I said, what in God's name are you guys doing in here?
I like how your perspective of the whole helping, how you remove the credit from you, even though you do deserve some of the credit. I mean, driving around and helping people, that's huge. You're being like the missionary person, and like the people coming to you to help others, which is amazing. Like you were able to do that. But I really do appreciate that perspective. Like God bless you for thinking that way, and for doing everything that you've done for the homeless in our community. And I mean, I can't imagine how grateful everyone is. But back to TMF, what days do they typically have the dinners? And then do you guys, what are your needs for this holidays? Is there anything specific that you guys are collecting or hoping to get from people, whether it's gift cards, whether it's blankets, whether it's coats, whether it's hats? I know that people often drop off like hats and gloves to your office, and you bring them over to the TMF. And
the entire living room next door to my office is all supplies for the homeless because people are constantly leaving stuff at my office. So TMF does a homeless family dinner on Wednesday nights. We serve at 9 o'clock if you want to come and help you get there at 8. And there's lots of volunteers that show up to set up the tables and the chairs and all of that. We have a lot of business partners that help by donating food. There's a lot of great places, and if you don't mind me mentioning, like Wally at Harrow's Pies. Anytime we have a need, anytime someone says that they're going to sponsor a dinner and then last minute bows out, we call Wally and he brings us like 100 pies. Like literally, and I'm not talking little pies. Like I'm talking like big chicken pies. And we have a lot of partners, like Salvatore's and Borelli's and A lot of those places that
I wish like more of like the larger corporations would do more things around here. Like for example, like Methuen is known for having like these major corporations. Like they have Target, they have Walmart, they have like all these stores that are all over the country, right? Like they're a chain. But I hear, I don't know, I was looking at a documentary where, for example, a coffee place that's across the street, they take whatever is left and they have to throw it away, and then after they throw that food away, they have to throw like coffee beans and like water over it so that it doesn't get reused.
Right.
So it's like a waste, like complete waste. Or they weight the amount of whatever, you know, they didn't use to kind of like calculate their losses instead of using that over something good.
But that's not their fault, by the way.
I know.
That's the Liberal Democrats that are in office in Massachusetts and around the country that make it impossible for people that deal with food on a regular basis, whether it's a bakery or a restaurant or whatever, to take some of their leftover food and feed other people. And they do that because poverty is a big business. And there's a lot of people making a lot of money on poverty. And so if you have the community coming together to feed people like TMF does, TMF becomes a lightning rod for a lot of corruption. A lot of people who are corrupt attack TMF. Whenever anybody goes on Facebook and attacks TMF, the one thing you know for sure, no matter how upstanding you think that person is corrupt. Because they see that TMF is actually making a difference. TMF has gotten over 50 people off the streets, into rehab, into housing, who have not come back to the streets. I'm not talking about the people we put in to come back, but there have been 50 to 55 people that TMF over the last 6 years have gotten off the streets, into rehab, into housing, who have not come back to the streets, who are still in a clean situation with a home or an apartment and a family and working and paying taxes and going back to being a regular person. And there are over 300 nonprofits in the city of Lawrence that claim that they help the homeless. Anybody ever see them? Where are they? They're nowhere to be found because they apply for grants. They use the grants to hire their friends that push paper around in an office. They go on Facebook and go, changing the world. And then that's it. They apply for more grants. But they don't have, but none of that ever filters down to the homeless. It never gets to them. So when those people see TMF actually making a difference, actually getting people off the streets, by comparison, it shows that they're frauds. And they can't have that. So the worst thing that a fraud wants ever is to be in the same area as the genuine article. Because by comparison, people will see, wait a minute, these people are full of shit. Whereas if nobody's getting help, well, people just assume that behind the scenes something's happening. But if they see people getting helped, but they don't see all the others that claim that they help actually helping, then it becomes a problem. And that goes back to, why do people attack me, right? Like, divorce the homeless issue for a minute. They attack me because if I'm out there promoting that state rep so-and-so is doing a great job, and I highlight the great job that they're doing, the other state rep that's not doing shit is going to be really, really mad about it, because now by comparison, you've kind of shown that they're not doing shit.
Got it. So it's like a competition. Unfortunately, that it has to be that way. But, you know, TMF is definitely a movement. I have been following it for some time. Can you let me know who's the director of TMF?
So it's Michael Gorman.
Okay.
Nice kid, young kid. He started it from, it was actually like a running group, and they decided they were going to like start helping kids in the neighborhood that couldn't afford to like do stuff like go to the zoo. And so they do like these car washes, and they'd raise enough money so that everyone could go to the zoo. You think about like a young Latino kid in Lawrence that has never been out of Lawrence. Well, there's a lot of experiences they've never had. They've never been to the aquarium. They've never been to a zoo, right? And so Mike just kind of wanted to bridge that gap. He saw that there was a lot of kids that he hung out with when he was younger that didn't have the advantages that he had. So he wanted to like find a way to bridge that gap. That out of that, TMF sprouted, and they started using, you know, all of their connections to try and help the people that were on the street that really needed something.
Yeah, that's the type of friends that I need. So if you're that type of thinker that you want to make the world a better place, I know it sounds cliche, but you want to make the world a better place, or you want to like get together with people who are thinkers, people that want to do, you know, a difference. Even though, you know, when you try to do something different, you often get called crazy, but that's the type of people that I like to surround myself with, people that think outside of the box and think about like the kids, and they think about the youth, and they think about, you know, the people that are in need. So I really do appreciate it. Do you guys have any like specific needs for the holidays that you feel like you guys could use?
So there are certain things that we're always in need of. there are certain things that the homeless absolutely love. Hand warmers. You know those hand warmers, you see them on the counter when you go to like some local store.
The dollar store actually sells those, I believe, yeah.
So there are people that donate a case of those. We'll go through a case in a night if it's a cold night, because there are over 300 homeless people on the streets of Lawrence. And so when you go from encampment to encampment, they don't just want one for now because they last maybe 6 hours. 6 hours from now, they're going to need another one if it's really cold, right? And, you know, there are 6 hours in a 24-hour period, right? So they're going to need more. And so hand warmers are great. And I'll tell you one of the favorite things that the homeless, we never even thought of it until someone actually just came over and just said, hey, do you have any of those tuna packets? They love, when I was growing up, you got tuna in a can. Now they sell it at Market Basket in packets, like
I still buy them.
I should have brought
can.
one. I have some in my car.
I always buy them in can. I like.
So
them
they have
in
them in packets. They also have chicken in packets now, and it doesn't go bad. So you don't have to refrigerate it. You can stick it in your. So if someone's living, think about this: if they're living in a tent on the banks of the Merrimack, and you give them 5 or 6 packets of chicken or tuna, if you give them a can, they need a can opener, right? But if you give them the packet, they can open the packet. It's a resealable packet. They can open it, have a little bit. They have some protein. They're eating, and they can reseal it up, and then don't have to worry about like sticking it in a fridge, because if you're homeless, you don't have a fridge, right? So those things become really invaluable. Like we get cases of those. Those go in a night. Like literally in one night, those will go.
How do you? This is a general question now. I feel like it's always great to help the need, the cause, and all of that. But how, on a politician's point of view, or in a government organization, how can you prevent homelessness within a community?
Well,
there's no there's anything that other cities have done or other states have done. I know California has a huge homeless population. I don't know what they're doing, what initiatives they're taking there. Is there anything that you see happening within our community that's kind of changing things? I know there's TMF, there's also other nonprofits, but is there anything organizational that it can prevent that from happening?
I don't really think so. I think it's well, the problems that generate homelessness are far too big for any politician to handle, okay? And so it generally has to do with, there's a lot of factors, right? I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, could I get rid of homelessness? Maybe. But the way our government is structured, that's going to be almost impossible. You have a lot of people who are on the streets. Let me give you some examples. So we get this kid on the street, went to a very expensive private high school, played varsity hockey, went down, he graduated, got recruited by BC. He was going to put full ride scholarship, 4 years to play in the hockey team in BC. Went down to New York with his girlfriend one day, went into a nightclub. It was the middle of the summer. He had just graduated. He was all excited to go to BC in the fall. They came out of the nightclub. There was a drive-by. Someone else that was at the club had enemies, and someone was shooting at them, and he got shot, and the bullet went into his hip. Well, now he can't play hockey anymore. They put him on opioids. He got addicted to opioids. What does a doctor do when you get addicted to opioids? They take you off the opioids. So now what do? You're in incredible pain, and the doctor won't give you anything for the pain. So he went onto the street to find something for the pain. Well, now he lives in a tent behind Mr. Tux, and he's been out here for 7 years. This is a kid that had everything going for him, everything. And because of one freakish night, one thing that happened to him, he's now addicted and on the streets. And he's a nice kid, but almost no help of getting out of it. The one thing that the homeless have, I can always identify someone that's got a shot at getting out, and that's the person whose family still takes their phone call. So we had this kid, Jeff Driscoll, who was a veteran. He was all over the city, but we used to usually meet him over on Bay State Road. And because he was a veteran, I called my veteran friend Randy Carter. We went down, we put him in the car, we gave him an intake down in Devon's. They gave him all kinds of benefits. They put him through the detox program, and he didn't like it, and he signed himself out. We find him back on the streets. And that happens more often than not. But at one point, he was on the street, and he asked me if he could use my phone. And I said, why? Because I thought, I'm not going to aid in you calling to buy drugs. He said, I want to call my mom. I said, you give me the number, I'll talk to her. So he gave me the number, and I called, and I talked to her, and it was his mom, and I handed him the phone. And when he finished talking to her 10 minutes later, he hung up, and I said, you know what? You've got a shot. You've got an 80% better shot of getting off the street than everyone else out here because your mom still takes your call. And we've seen that over and over and over. The ones who actually have a chance of getting out are the ones whose families have not given up on them. The people that know that there's someone out there that's worth fighting for, reconnecting to, are the ones that generally have a better shot. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, but for the most part, if you're going to have a shot, that's the best shot you've got.
I mean, that sounds beautiful and all, but I also understand from a family standpoint where, where they have done everything they can to try to help. And sometimes, they put themselves at risk for, any situations. But definitely, I think when it comes to family, like that's all we have in this world. Like that's the one thing that God has, given us and provided us with. And we should definitely like look out for family. I'm huge on family.
And I want to, out of full disclosure, I went the other way. My sister, Kiana, went to rehab 6 times. She was addicted, went to rehab 6 times. She's much younger than me. She's actually probably about your age, believe it or not. I'm in my 50s, and she's, I think, just turned 30. That's another whole podcast, by the way. But she got addicted, and she did a lot of bad things to the family before we realized what was really going on, including borrowing and taking money. And at one point, I cut her off. When I found out what was really going on, I cut her off. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. After what you've done to my family, what you've done to me, what you've done to my parents, I'm just fucking done. I'm done. Don't call me. Don't reach out to me. Now I realize on the back end of that how wrong of a decision that was, because she ended up going to rehab 6 times and relapsing 6 times. It wasn't until my parents spent even more money to put her in Teen Challenge. And Teen Challenge is a faith-based rehab. And the fact that it's faith-based gave her another shot at getting clean, because there's no way you can get clean unless you understand that there is a higher power. Whatever that higher power is that you think, Buddha, whatever. But if you don't believe in a higher power, there's a much less chance you're ever going to get out of an addicted situation.
So it sounds like there's 2 factors, right? So there's the family support, right? Correct? And then there's also the higher faith, right? What do you believe in? Yeah. And I mean, do you think that that's probably what helped your sister?
The fact that it was faith-based helped her get out. Well, there's a couple of things. There are 2 factors that helped her get out. It was the faith-based part for sure, because none of the others had that component. But then at Teen Challenge, when you graduate, they let you stay and mentor the new people coming in. So the Psychology Today did a study back in the late 90s about environment and addiction. And they took rats and 2 different sets of rats, or mice. And in one, they kept pumping in cigarette smoke. And then in the other, they pump in the cigarette smoke. And then they got them clean. They had them detox from the nicotine. And the first set of rats, when they got them clean, they put them back in the same environment where they were pumping the cigarette smoke, and all of them went back to the smoking. All of them went back to the nicotine. The ones that they put into a different environment than where they got them addicted, 2/3 of them did not go back to the nicotine that they had put inside. They had like these nicotine pellets or whatever that they had. And the same thing with my sister. When she graduated from the other 6 rehabs, she came back to Lawrence. And the minute she came back to Lawrence, all her old friends were texting her because they saw her on Facebook, and she's now home. And it's, hey, what do you need? Let's hook you up with, whatever it is that you need. You're looking for pills, you're looking for this. And all of that temptation and all of those triggers were back immediately, almost within days. All of that time, all of that effort, trying to get clean, trying to detox your body, trying to get through the emotional heartbreak and realize what you've done to your family and all of that, only to come back and have the devil still waiting for you. And I think the reason why Teen Challenge worked for her is because she didn't come back to that environment. They let her stay there and mentor the new people coming in. And then like a year and a half later, when she was ready to go find another place, they discouraged her greatly from going back to where she started. Now, that happens to be Lawrence, but it could be anywhere, right? Wherever it is that your environment is that you got addicted and you were using the most, when you graduate, when you detox, you cannot go back. You cannot go back. That environment is going to trigger you.
It's all about the 5 people closest to you. That says a lot about you. Right. Like your environment definitely matters. Mm-hmm. But thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sorry that your family had to go through such a heartache.
It was tough because we didn't know we were going through it until it was too late. Like we didn't know. I didn't know the first 2 times, 3 times she went to rehab because my family is very secretive, very, very secretive, and because we're a public family. And so I didn't know, but what I did know is that she was lying to me. She was stealing my money. She was hurting my parents. My parents were crying themselves to sleep every night. And I didn't know why because they didn't tell me why. So I was even more angry. Had I known, I probably would have been less angry at the time. But once I found out, rather than being angry, I said, okay, now I know what the problem is. Now, finally, somebody in the family told me what's going on, and I just cut her off, which, again, turned out to be the exact wrong thing to do, but that's your human nature, right? It's self-preservation. I don't want this person in my house because every time they come, something disappears. I don't want to associate them with them because they're going to tell lies about me to get someone else to give them money so they can go out and they can score their drugs. And after dealing with the homeless on the streets now that I've been doing for probably, 6 or 8 years, I realized that I think if I had stayed in contact with her and I'd been an emergency contact for her when things were going on, that she might have been able to get cleaner faster. And thank God, knock on wood, we didn't lose her. Now, by the way, she's had her third child. She owns a home.
That's beautiful.
She is a pastor at it's an Episcopal church. I'm going to get it wrong. She's going to be mad at me, but it's a Protestant church. She's a pastor, and she's married, and she has been clean now, I think, 7 or 8 years. And she's living the dream. We all worry still because once an addict, always an addict. And we worry that if things go bad, God forbid something happens to one of her kids, God forbid she loses her house for whatever reason, that there's always that chance of a relapse. So we're all cheering her on, and we're all trying to help her as much as we can. But, once you're an addict, always an addict, and that's absolutely true no matter how long you've been clean.
I think that is a wonderful story for maybe you to share it amongst others who are hopeful to get out of the streets, to get out of the addiction. Like having someone come in and like talk about their experience and the things that they did that worked for them. It might kind of like, motivate those to try to find solutions. And also, like you said, like the whole family part, like families should, be part of that problem. Like also like support them when they come back, when they're really trying. When you see some effort in them and you support them, I think that's a great message for you to send up.
And sometimes too, just take their call. Like I've noticed, and this is not through my personal experience with my family, but with dealing with the homeless on the streets, the families that are still take your call, even if it's just to say that I love you, I'm sorry you're in this position, I wish I could help you, whatever, but still taking their call gives them, and this is not an exaggeration, 80% more chance of getting out of it at some point. 80% more chance of getting detoxed, 80% more chance of getting off the streets. And again, I'm probably under exaggerating that. It's probably more than 80, but we've seen it. And unfortunately, that's a very small population of the people who are on the streets whose family will take their call.
Tom, thank you so much for like sharing that story. This is the first time
people don't normally ask me these kinds of things. So
yeah, I know. I get a little too deep.
That's one of the reasons why I like your show, though. I've been following your show, and I like it because you're not doing the typical thing that everybody else is doing.
No, I definitely want to get to know people, have conversations where we can grow. I'm sure that our listeners right now learn something new, like the whole, make sure you're there for that person, and also, all the great things that you're doing for the homeless and what ways that they can help. Because, in life, yes, you have to work hard for the things that you want. You have to work hard on your projects for your family, but you also have to be part of our community. You have to be part of the common good, and you want to give back to your community. That's the only way to strengthen it for our children and our future generations. So thank you so much, Tom, for everything
you're welcome.
You continue to do, and I hope that God continues to bless you to move forward and to keep pushing this agenda to support those in need. So God bless you.
Well, thank you.
All right, everyone, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for the ongoing support. This is amazing. Thank you, Tom Duggan.
Thanks for having me.
You want to say a final something?
I just want everybody to pick up the Valley Patriot newspaper, follow our podcast, Paying Attention Podcast on my Facebook pages, and that's it. And follow Cold Castle Podcast.
Yeah, and what's your Instagram?
Oh, I don't know.
It's Valley_Patriot.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it is. Right. It is. And then there's another one that's Valley Patriot Bash.
Right, we have a Bash account. So we have a TikTok account, and we have a Snapchat account, and we have an Instagram account. Well, now that I have an intern, I'm getting all this stuff done together. Getting it all together.
All right, everyone. Thank you.